Hey guys, a few days ago these guys turned 6 months old, which means they're old enough to regulate their own body temperature, which means they're old enough for an exercise wheel. So today, we're gonna install this into their cage, but it also happened to land on cage cleaning day and Halloween. So I'm gonna walk you through cleaning their cage as well as installing this, and afterwards we're gonna monitor them for a little while to make sure nothing goes wrong. So the first step of cage cleaning day is removing them from the cage. While I'm cleaning their main cage, they're going to spend their day in the temporary cage. This is also the cage where they grew up in, but it looked a lot different when they were in here. I'll be right back with your brother. Here you go. And with the temporary cage, you don't typically want to have vertical bars. This is the cage I have. They're only going to be in here for 30 minutes, so it should be okay. They also have food and water in here. I don't typically put hay in the temporary cage while I'm cleaning, because in general they usually just sleep while I'm cleaning. And I put them in a different room when I clean, because the vacuum is loud and scares them. So with them out of the cage, we can begin cleaning. And the first step in cleaning for me is actually vacuuming the rest of the room first. That's what the headphones are for, because it's a shop vac and it's very loud. And the beanie is to keep the headphones on because they're also old. So before I get into the cage, I'm gonna vacuum the rest of the room. I'll be back after that. Alright, now that the rest of the room is vacuumed, I'm gonna run down of everything I'm gonna need to clean this cage specifically, because each cage is different here. The first thing I usually need is a shop vac. This one's an NXT Rigid from Home Depot. With your vacuum, you typically want a 3-inch diameter hose. This one's only 2-inch and it does clog sometimes. I couldn't find a 3-inch. The next thing I grab is the headphones and beanie. The next thing I typically grab is sandpaper. This particular piece is a 100 grit. I actually prefer a finer grit than this, but this is what I have. Another thing I usually need is my trash can. That's because you want to try and minimize as much stuff sucked into the vacuum as possible. So I do it by hand. And the final thing I usually need to grab before I start cleaning is their bedding. And each of my chinchillas' cages is color coded. These babies are the gray ones. And today is also deep clean day, which means I'm switching out their hammock. The baby's hammock is this gray one here. So I usually gather all of this up before I start cleaning, but got it here now. Oh, and today we're gonna need their exercise wheel because we're installing it. The next step is getting the cage out of the corner. Now this is where I start taking all of the loose pieces out, such as this. And I just set them on the floor out of the way. I also go and pick up anything that they would typically chew on or play with to get it out of the way so I don't suck it up. And while I'm doing this, I'll take any of their toys out that are missing pieces, like this one here in the back. What I try to avoid is exposed wire, because they can chew through that. If I find a toy missing a piece, I remove it and add another chew toy onto it. I also take out their hay container just to keep it from getting dirty. Here's another toy missing quite a few pieces. These guys specifically really like willow, so this is a willow tunnel, and there's pieces of it everywhere. This piece has been peed on, so it'll be thrown away. But dry pieces like this one, we keep. Alright, now that everything is removed, except for the things that need to be vacuumed when they come out, now is when I begin vacuuming. And typically you want a shop vac for this. I tried to use a normal vacuum, but it would just get clogged from the hay. And it got clogged to the point where it no longer works. This is where I begin vacuuming. I'm not gonna turn it on yet because it's really loud, but this is what I do. I go ledge to ledge and just vacuum everything up. Get all the crevices. I'm also going to be switching out their bedding. Their bedding is a layer of fleece. On the bottom, another layer of fleece, and on the inside is U-Haul material. It's very absorbent, and they're velcroed shut on the edges, and then folded underneath the pan so they can't get inside. And the pans are just plastic. They came with the cage. Once I get down to this bottom section of the cage, I'm going to scoop all of this hay up and put it into the trash instead of vacuuming it up. That way it doesn't fill up my vacuum that quickly. You're supposed to leave the hay as long as it's dry and not been peed on, but I don't like sorting through hay, so I just throw it away and give them new hay. So I think now I'm just going to do a time lapse of cleaning the cage. I will show you up close of what the sandpaper is for, and then we'll skip to the end when we install the wheel. Here's a good example of what the sandpaper is for. When they poop, it's generally wet. They step in it, and then they step on the wood, and it leaves poop prints. What you want to do is just take a piece of sandpaper and sand it off. No more poop. It doesn't really stick to the sandpaper, although I do go through sandpaper pretty quickly doing this because the cage has lots of wood in it. I typically do this with the vacuum on because it's just a lot cleaner, and sawdust gives you cancer over time. So here we go. Alright, now that the pans are out and everything's been vacuumed, it's time to put the pans back in with new fleece. So you might have seen in the time lapse, I removed the doors. That's the only way these pans come out, because the door has a small lip on it and stops it from coming out. I only have to remove 2 doors, so I just choose the left side, easy to remember. Plus the right side one has their water bottle on it. It's just a whole mess if I take that one off. Now it's time to put the pans back with the new fleece. I'm gonna start with the hammock just because it's easy and right here in my way. So here's how I put the hammocks in. The ones I bought have small metal grommets to hang from. Less things for chinchillas to chew on. I've put this hammock in the lower section of the cage, and it just hangs from shower curtain hangers. And all you do to rehang it is you find where it's open, you take the grommet, and you stick it over it. I might even be able to do it one-handed. And once it's on, you want to make sure that you close it back up. There you go, and you just do that to all 4 corners. I also chose to do pattern side out for my hammocks. And there we go, hammock returned. Next I'll put the pans back in. I'm gonna start with the bottom one. It doesn't have a hole. The one on the top is missing a corner, that way they can climb up and down. So we're starting with the bottom one. This is the easiest way I found to do it. You set the pan on the floor, you open up the fleece, and you reach all the way to the bottom. So you won't be able to see me. Definitely can't do this one-handed. You reach all the way to the bottom, open it up, and you want to put the pan inside with the U-Haul layer on the top where they're going to be sitting, and you just pull it up like a sock. And some of these fleece liners you can get on Etsy, the U-Haul layer won't be sewn into the fabric, so you'll have to make sure that the pan doesn't go on top of the U-Haul material. But in this case, this one is sewn in. They also come in different styles for securing it once it's on the pan. In this case, this one is Velcro. It's considered a pillowcase style. You can also get them in envelope style, which don't have the Velcro. I believe those ones even go on horizontally. I don't know, I haven't bought any of those. I like the Velcro, because it keeps them from climbing into it. Once you have your fleece onto your pan, you want to take it and pull it so that the Velcro, the opening and the Velcro go underneath the pan, right? Which some of them shrink once washed, so it does become a little difficult to do. And then we'll put it back in the cage. In this case, in this cage, I want the open Velcro end to be on the left side. And it just slides in like that. And I try to make sure the pan is past this little notch. It holds the pan in place, and this is where the doors stop. I also have poop and hay guards in this cage that hold the pan down. Some pans will spring up and warp, but the poop guards are holding it down. It also keeps them from getting able to get into the Velcro side. All right, now I'm gonna do the same thing for the top pan. In this case, you want the notched side onto the floor, because the Velcro on this one is on the opposite side of the notch. And I dropped it on the floor. Same thing, it just slides on like putting on a sock or a pillowcase, I guess. And it fits right onto it. These were custom made for this cage, so it fits perfectly. Close up the Velcro. And same thing as last time, you want to pull the fabric up and over to the bottom of the pan to block it off. And in my case, I'm gonna be putting the Velcro on the left side again. With the top pan, I don't have much of a choice because the other side is where the hole is. And there we are. Same thing, the Velcro is tucked under. They can access the bottom. They do have stairs. They do have stairs to access the bottom. And now, we'll put all of their stuff back. In my experience with these Timothy grass hides, you want it to be jammed against a wall and a piece of wood. That way it doesn't move when they jump on it. Here's all the pieces of wood that we saved. I'm just going to toss them into the hide and around on the floor. Except for the big pieces like this. What I do is I'll take these and break them in the center. They don't come apart. The bark holds it together. And I will just slip it through the top of the bars of the cage to hang down. They love that. They'll chew on that. So same thing with this piece. I'll just break it in the center to make it the V shape. And then just hang it from the roof. So with the top all put back together and done, I've made it so they have a tunnel that comes up from the stairs. They can climb up here and get up to here, go in here. They don't really use this. And they have a way to get from the stairs underneath this. They really like this spot and up here, as well as this tunnel. These tunnels I clean about once a month. But with that, we can put the top door back on and close it up. With the doors, they just slide on to these little bolts. You have to line 2 up at once. There we go, it's back on, and now you just press down on it. Door closed. All done. Now it's time to put the bottom back together. This is going to go in the same spot that it was in. Back there. The hay container I'm going to fill back up before I put it back in. And with the 2 toys that came out, I need to put new chews on top before I can put them back in, so they'll go to the side. I decided that I'm going to move the cooling tile to the bottom because that's where the wheel is going to be. And I normally clean this with soap and water, but they haven't used it since the last time I've cleaned it, so I'm just going to put it in here. So this can't go back in the corner that it used to be in because that is where the wheel is going to go. I'm going to have to remove everything on this side of the cage to put the wheel on, and then we'll figure out where it's all going to go after that. I might have some extra pieces of wood. The thing is attached to the cage really easily. It's just a piece of wood with a screw in it. That goes through the cage. On the other side of the bars, you put a washer and then a butterfly screw, and it just screws on with tension. So the wheel connects the same way the pieces of wood do with the washers and screws. And when installing a wheel into your chinchilla's cage, you want to put it on the shortest wall in the cage, and you want the screws to line up with the vertical bars coming down. That gives you the most strength in the wheel, as well as not bending the cage as much, which in turn makes it quieter when they run on it. So here's how I've connected it. It has at least 2 to 3 different spots where it connects with the vertical bars. That adds strength. This one not so much. But what you do is it's got a washer on the inside, you put a washer over the outside, and then you put the butterfly screw over the top of it. And as you'll see, as you put it on, it tightens it up. And you only want to finger tighten these. You don't want to use tools because that could over tighten it and that could break something. So I'll just do that to all 4 of these. And the wheel will be installed. I've gone for putting the wheel a little further into the back of the cage to give room for the hammock as well as the water. And now I need to figure out what to do with all this. Alright, after putting the doors back on, this is what I've come up with. I've moved most of the wood from the back onto the doors, and I've moved some of the wood in the back around. In general, when you're putting wood into a cage, you want to just imagine, where is it going to go? Where is the chinchilla going to run to? So you want to give him plenty of options, right? So I made sure that they could access the shelf from the wheel with this, and made sure when they're coming down the stairs they could go across the shelf, they could jump here, they could go down, and if they go over here they can get up here. You just want to keep in mind where they're going to go. But with all that done, the next part of cleaning is I have to pull the cage further out and clean behind it. Here we go. With that all done and the cage completely clean, now I just have to put the cage back and put everything that I used to clean it away. So let's go get them their hay, which is just out here in a giant box. With that all filled up, it'll just go back down here where it came from. And then the dirty fleece will go immediately into the washer. Here's the box of refill toys. It's kind of dark in here. But as you can see, I have plenty of refills for their toys, and I'm just going to stick something onto the top of this one. In the end, I just decided to cut off the excess wire without adding a new toy. The shorter the toys are, usually the better. So with their cage fully cleaned and their exercise wheel put in, let's go get them and see what their reaction is. Initial reaction, don't want to come out. Oh, maybe. One's in. Let's go get the other one. Toad. Come on. Chinchilla's first reaction to an exercise wheel. They have no clue what to do with it. Put him on the wheel, he just runs off. It usually takes them a few days to figure out how to use it. They're just running around the cage. And they're probably going to ignore the wheel and go to sleep, so. And they seem more curious about the camera than the wheel itself. He's missing a foot, that happens. There you go. He ran a little. Yeah, it'll take them a few days before they're comfortable running on it. They'll figure it out. Just takes time. Alright, thank you all for watching. Happy Halloween. And I hope to see you in the next video. See ya. I gotta go catch that chinchilla, just ran away.